and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Lumberjack Barbecue. Thanks a lot for coming on in and stopping on by. Today what we have for you is some Asian spiced pork ribs. And where I got this recipe, and where I get a lot of stuff, just ideas about you might not even see on my channel, is from 25-cent magazines at a thrift store. This one happens to be Rachel Ray Every Day, and in here she has a recipe for what she calls, or they call, Asian style sticky ribs with orange and vinegar. A little picture of the recipe. Now the picture shows oranges and cilantro. I plan to use the zest for the sauce, but the oranges and the cilantro aren't going to be on this recipe. We would definitely eat the oranges. In fact, I might just cut them up and throw them on there, whatever. We got to eat them. We're not going to just toss them away. But that's what I'm looking at doing today. And what they want you to do is cook it with the sauce on it. Let me see if I can find that here. Position rack, working with 2 orange, drain enough zest, blah, blah, blah. Juice in the bowl, whisk orange zest, place the ribs meat side up on a large, heavy, blah, blah, blah. Pour the sauce over the ribs. They want you to do it while you're cooking. I'm not interested in doing that until later. We're going to do the 3-2-1 method, 3 hours of smoke, 2 hours in the foil. Once it goes in the foil, we're going to put our sauce into the foil with it, reserve some for glazing later on. And for that last hour, whatever it takes in order to get them done, then we're going to continue with the glazing and get it all nice and sticky and tacky. So I'm borrowing some, that's basically the recipe, but not doing it the same way they're doing it. So what we have here is your salt and pepper, which I'm going to put them on the ribs before they go on the fire. We got our sesame oil sriracha, which is my first time trying it. Smoky Goodness, Dan over at Smoky Goodness swears by this stuff. I'm running out of my hot sauce in the fridge, so I thought, you know what, this recipe calls for it, I'm going to try it. Duck sauce, I ask you to use marmalade, orange marmalade. I don't have orange marmalade, but I have a ton of duck sauce, which has apricots in it, or apricots if you prefer. And I thought that that would be a nice substitution, that would be alright. Some Chinese spices, never had them before, we'll try them out. Hoisin sauce, 2 oranges, which are going to use the zest, and we'll definitely eat the oranges. And you have yourself a fresh ginger root right out of the freezer, and about 4 cloves of garlic on top of that. Now 4, 5, 6, whatever you decide to use. Also, here are the ribs. I figured it out. They're on sale because they have to be used up by tomorrow, they say. I don't necessarily always agree with that stuff. But originally it was $2.97 a pound. I got it for $2 a pound. Now this is at Wally World. There's been places and times that I look for these things, and they're sometimes $4 and $5 a pound. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get the Weber all fired up and get it ready to go, get some charcoal ready, and we'll bring you back at an appropriate time. Bye. Alright, let's go over what we did here. What we did with these ribs was we took them out of the package and rinsed them off. They had all the juices and the blood on them. We rinsed them off, brought them up here onto this wax paper or freezer paper, and from there we proceeded to use a kitchen towel and pat them dry. Once we patted them dry, we took the membrane off from behind. If you're interested in how to do that, I do have a couple more videos where I show the membrane and how to pull that off, as well as there's other people out there that do that. So you can always find videos for that as well. After that, we flipped them back over, did a very light trimming. I took some of the higher fat that was up here and cut that down, but I left most of it on. There are some flaps of meat that hang out. If you're in competition, you certainly wouldn't want that. I'm not here, I'm just hungry. And then we did light salt and pepper on top of it, and I used just regulation black pepper and then a regulation table salt. And I did that on just one side. Right now the charcoal is in the chimney, and it should be ready to go in the Weber. We're going to go out and take care of that, get ourselves a little drip tray to put underneath of the ribs so that we can catch those juices and baste with those juices, as well as keep some humidity in the grill. Later on, I'm going to bring you back in the kitchen here. We're going to show you the sauce getting worked up, and from there we'll show you the rest of the cook. So stick around. Alright, we're working on our sauce now. I took the liberty of prepping some things and getting the liquid stuff in the bowl here. So what we have here, and it's going to be down in the description box again, this is for 1 rack of ribs. The recipe calls for 1/3 cup hoisin sauce, what is it, one tablespoon of orange zest, 1/3 cup orange marmalade, 2 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce, which I didn't have in the picture earlier, 2 tablespoons of minced peeled fresh ginger, 4 large cloves of garlic minced, 1 tablespoon of sriracha, 1 tablespoon of toasted sesame oil, and a half a teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice powder. So that's what I got all in here. The powder is in there as well as the wet stuff, and of course I doubled everything. That doesn't mean it's perfect, because sometimes you don't double, maybe you go a little less, a little more, whatever, but we're gonna try it. So what I gotta do right now is I gotta get some zest off of this. If you don't have a zester, all a zester is a handheld grater, pretty much. So I got myself a handheld grater. And there we go. And you don't want to dig down in too far. But you want to get yourself some nice zest in there. And that's that. Alright, and there you have it. 2 tablespoons of zest. Approximately. I did these oranges pretty good. They seem like they're zesty. So now what we're going to do is load it up here in our chopper. What is it? It is a chopper. Black & Decker Handy Chopper Plus. Let's start off with this ginger. There's a ginger, I just did some good slices off of it. And that, again, this is double, so this is 2 tablespoons. It calls for 1 in the recipe. There's our garlic in there. We're just going to throw this all in the chop up. And then we're going to chop it up. My kid, he's funny. He watches that Apprentice, and Arnold did it this year. And when Arnold said, "Get to the chopper," he could have sworn. My kid likes things that destroy stuff, as most boys do. Those choppers that take like a whole refrigerator and chop them up or whatever. And he really thought, for whatever reason, that he was sending them to that chopper. All right, here we go. Load that baby up on here. I have a Ninja Bullet too, but it just seemed like too much. I don't need that capacity. It's pretty big compared to this. A little rinse on the old hands. And then we just want to, like it says in the recipe, we want to have a mince. So we're going to... Oh, you have to put the blade in first, folks. This ought to be fun. Yeah, I'll bring it back. Okay? Bye. I got it mixed up, and that is some kind of thick stuff there. And I think I'm alright with this. But boy, I just took a spoonful, just a taste, not a whole spoonful. Oh my goodness, does this taste good. You guys have got to try this out. Alright, we'll see you after the grilling. Bye. Okay, what I couldn't show you is that I just put another batch of charcoal in, and I had this big chunk of apple wood right there, and it was still from the last hour, but there's still plenty of pieces of it in there. I'm gonna probably just stick with that for the next hour. Right now all we're gonna do is baste the ribs. Now, speaking of something you didn't see, because I don't have a camera person, this rack here was in the front and vice versa, so I'm flipping around for even cooking. They're gonna get moved back a little bit further once I get done getting some juices down here. We're gonna lift this baby up here a little bit. Get ourselves some juices and then just run it over top of here. Don't know how much this really does, but everybody else is doing it, and I do what the cool kids do. And so that's pretty much what we're doing here. Just giving it a nice little basting, moving stuff around, getting some more fire on there. And now I'll move this rack back, hopefully. If I can get hooked underneath here. That's a beaut. We were running at 250 when I came out here. And it's going to get hotter now because I got all that new charcoal in. Alright, welcome back. It's been 3 hours now, and we're about ready to wrap these ribs. If you take a look at them right here, the bones are starting to poke out. And this is the beginning of the process. I'm sorry, the bones aren't poking out. The meat's drawing back from the bone. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to take and wrap them up and put that Asian spice sauce on there. And I also have some pork cutlets here that my lumberjack-in-law wants me to work on, or we're working on together. And so let me just tend to these a second. Not so bad. We're just trying to get a little sear on them, move them to the other side. We'll probably barbecue sauce them. That looks pretty good too. That one got a little ashy, but he'll eat it. Alright, so Get your furnace gloves out. Bring your ribs over. I always like to lay them meat side down. And then we got our sauce that we mixed up earlier, if you remember. And if you don't, we mixed it up earlier, so remember it. And we're just going to drizzle some along the aluminum foil like so. And again, we're going to leave some later for glazing. And then what you want to do is just take your aluminum foil, fold it up and over. Don't close in too hard because of the bones. They might poke through the aluminum foil. You do want to get it as close as you can to it. And then fold the end up, again, as tight as you can, but without poking through the bones. And that's how I'm going to do the second wrap. This will be 2 hours, or however long I think it needs to go. And then we'll bring you back then and when we're glazing. Thanks a lot. Stick around. We'll see you soon. All right, there we are. 250 degrees. This is our last hour. I did already take them out of the foil. And when I did, of course, the sauce ended up being very runny because it's heated up. So I poured all that sauce all over top of the ribs and added some apple wood over here so we can keep some heat in here. I don't want to put any more charcoal because the binder's in it. And we're going to go an hour. Probably, I would say, 15-20 minutes before the end. Then I'm going to put some more sauce on, flip them, sauce, flip them, that kind of stuff. And we'll be ready to take them in the house. How I know that they're not exactly ready, they're bending, but they're not just totally ready to give way. They're close though, they're very close. But I want to give them another hour with some more heat and barbecue sauce. So the next time you'll see these ribs, we'll be tasting them in the house. Bye. All right, welcome back. Finally, the ribs are done. I had a little bit of a problem out there keeping temperatures and heat. I didn't want to put charcoal on because of the binders and whatnot, so I kept on having to put apple wood on. I didn't have any lump charcoal around that I could toss on, so I ended up having a little bit of a problem. Finished them in the house for about maybe the last 45 minutes or so. Now they're done. They're not where I typically like them. I think they should be a little bit more pliable, I guess you would say. There's a lot of meat on these ribs though. So I'm going to give it a shot. If I can pull the meat off the bone, I'm good with that. I usually like it to be that it's hanging on still, but it kind of like falls off when I go to bite it. So we're going to give it a shot. Now I've seen a lot of guys do it this way, that if they take a nice good bite, they love it. So we're going to check it out. You can taste the ginger. You can taste all the spices you put in there. The soy sauce. It is perfect as far as I'm concerned. And it comes right off the bone. You can see a nice bite there. I'm loving it. And we got a smoke pretty much down to the bone, it almost seems like. Very, very good. You can see the sauce with the zest in it and all the minced vegetables and whatnot. This is good. It's definitely a different taste. I'm used to my regulation barbecue sauce, but I really like it. And I hope you guys try it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you the next time.